In our previous video, The God of Forces, we shown that the God of Forces is none other than Azazel. We have seen in Daniel 8 that a ruler shall rise up when the sins of mankind are at an all-time high in the last days. He will have a strong presence. The word used is Oz, like in Azazel, the fallen one. He will be cunning like the serpent, and twisted and crafty at double dealing. A deceiver like the word Kadi, that means fraud. He will make people believe in his lies. He will cause them to receive the mark. Then we see that in Daniel chapter 11, he has chameleon-like powers given to him to destroy with miracles. Then in 11:31, by the Strong's definitions, a different picture of the scripture is shown to us. This is Daniel 11:31 through 32, using the word definitions in Strong's. Daniel 11:31, and the shoulders they will set forth on the account of him. They shall pierce by implication to wound the set apart place. They shall remove the constant covering, and they shall deliver the abominable filth that makes desolate. With fine promises, and from wickedness of a compact made in the flesh, he shall cause to be defiled without Elohim. But the people who know their Elohim shall overcome and serve. This smooth-talking serpent will deceive many into receiving this compact, as we see in verse 32 of Daniel. This compact in the flesh, this medicine that the taker receives, removes the covering of the set-apart place. This compact is a signed, written agreement that binds you to do what you promised. In this case, the mark, as we have seen, is against the right hand and against the forehead of the bride. In other words, this is a divorce decree made in the flesh. Just as the serpent deceived Eve in the garden, so shall many be deceived. 2 Corinthians 11:1. I wish that you would bear with me in a little folly, but indeed you are bearing with me, for I am jealous with you with a jealousy according to Elohim. For I gave you in marriage to one husband, to present you as an innocent maiden to Messiah. But I am afraid lest as the serpent deceived Hawa by his trickery, so your minds should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Mashiach. Notice what he says, for I gave you in marriage to one husband, to present you as an innocent maiden to Mashiach. One husband, but the serpent deceived Eve into breaking the bond and losing the covering of Yahuwah. This bond is broken by those who take the mark. This was also spoken of by King David. Listen to his words. Telahim, Psalms 2:1. Why do the nations rage and the people meditate emptiness? The nations rage because this mark turns mankind against each other, and they meditate emptiness because the mark makes desolate those who take it, making them unable to feel and think properly. The sovereigns of the earth take their stand, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahuwah and against his Messiah, and say, let us tear apart their bonds and throw away their ropes from us. He who is sitting in the heavens laughs. Yahuwah mocks at them. Let us tear apart their bonds. This is the bonds of matrimony, just as spoken of by Yochanan in Revelation 18:23. And the light of a lamp shall not shine in you any more at all, and the voice of bridegroom and bride shall not be heard in you any more at all. For your merchants were the great ones of the earth, for by your drug sorcery all the nations were led astray. The mark is a divorce decree made in the flesh as mentioned in Daniel, as a compact for all those who take it. Kasson, Revelation 13:16. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, and free and slave, to be given a mark upon their right hand or upon their foreheads. The word for mark in this passage is charigma, Greek Strong's 5480. This word means a stamp or impress. It also means a mark, providing undeniable identification, like a symbol giving irrefutable connection between parties. This is Satan's ID, and in this case it is his covenant ID. Quote, a covenant or covenant light is a financial jargon for loan agreements that do not contain the usual protective covenants for the benefit of the lending party. I am showing you this quote so that you understand that a covenant can be described by the shortened word form of cov. Thus, the covenant identification of Satan's mark can be spelled cov ID. The 19th letter in Hebrew is Kaf. Quote, the letter Kaf originally meant the back of the head or the eye of a needle, and which also means monkey. It is the symbol of both the sacred Kadushah and the profane Clifa, which means the peel, cover, or husk, like the chaff. This represents the negatives of the world. A monkey is considered a beast. So, Cove ID 19 is the covenant identification of the beast. The letter Kaf is a picture of a rising sun. It means divide, as in divide the wheat from the tare. It means sun on the horizon, behind, gather, condense, go behind, circle, time, monkey, enduring, and can mean holy. So Cove ID 19 also can mean the covenant identification of the rising sun, or the sun god that they worship. This plan of the serpents started in the garden and will end in the garden. This evil plan is ancient, and they have mocked us with their mocking tongue for thousands of years. Quote, the Mayan calendar marks the end of a 5,126-year-old cycle around December 12, 2012, which should bring the return of Bolan Yokti, a Mayan god associated with war and creation. This war began at the creation, Bereshith, Genesis 3:15, and I put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall crush his heel. They have mocked us in words, and in stone they mock with the mocking tongue. The Mayan calendar ended in 2012, the exact year when the virus emerged, when the plan of theirs had reached the appointed time. Look at the image in this slide. Kasson, Revelation 13:16, and he causes all, both small and great, and rich and poor, and free and slave, to be given a mark upon their right hand or upon their foreheads, and that no one should be able to buy or sell except he that has the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. The mark is the divorce decree. The name of the beast is the name the bride of Satan takes on, and the number is 23, the number in Hebrew that equals the letter Gain, the symbol of the serpent wrapped around a tree. This is why we keep the Shabbat day, because it is practice for the bride of Yahuwah to not buy or sell during this period which is to come. It's a wedding rehearsal to prepare his people for what is to come. The bride of Yahuwah will not take the mark, and those that do take the mark will die. And this is why it is written in Exodus 31:15, 6 days work is done, and on the seventh is a Shabbat of rest, set apart to Yahuwah. Everyone doing work on the Shabbat day shall be certainly put to death. We are also not to kindle a fire on the Shabbat, because in Yahuwah's wrath he will burn the earth with fire, and we do not want to be partakers in the wrath. Shemoth Exodus 35:3. Do not kindle a fire in any of your dwellings on the Shabbat day. Those who keep the commands of Yahuwah will overcome, because they stay in covenant with Yahuwah and honor the Shabbat, showing themselves to be his. For he told us in Exodus 31, and Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, and you speak to the children of Israel, saying, my Sabbaths you are to guard by all means, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, to know that I, Yahuwah, am setting you apart. Devarim, Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah our Elohim, Yahuwah is one. And you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, and with all your being, and with all your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be frontlets between your eyes. The commands of Yahuwah is the covenant of the bride. Those who keep them and believe in Yahusha are marked and will be saved. Telahim, Psalms 2:6. But I have set my sovereign on Zion, my set-apart mountain. I inscribe for a law. Yahuwah has said to me, you are my son. Today I have brought you forth. Ask of me, and I make the nations your inheritance, and the ends of the earth your possession. Break them with a rod of iron, dash them into pieces like the potter's vessel. And now be wise, O sovereigns, be instructed, you rulers of the earth. Serve Yahuwah with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the bane, lest he be enraged, and you perish in the way, for soon his wrath is to be kindled. Blessed are all those taking refuge in him. Yahusha is the answer to all the schemes of the serpent, and what started in the garden will end in the garden. Yahuwah's beautiful plan was laid out in the beginning to save mankind from the curse. First, let us expose the fruitless deeds of darkness. Let's go back to Revelation chapter 13. And he called us all, both small and great, and rich and poor, and free and slave, to be given a mark upon their right hand or upon their foreheads, and that no one should be able to buy or sell except he that has the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. He who has understanding, let him calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. The 666th person mentioned in Scripture is Solomon. And as we have shown in our revelation of the Mark video, he uses this phrase over and over again. Here's wisdom, here is understanding. Melachim, Aleph, 1 Kings 3:5. At Gibeon, Yahuwah appeared to Shlomo in a dream by night, and Elohim said, ask what I should give you. And Shlomo said, you have shown great loving commitment to your servant David, my father, as he walked before you in truth and in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart with you. And you have guarded for him this great loving commitment, and did give him a son to sit on his throne, as it is this day. And now, O Yahuwah my Elohim, you have set up your servant to reign instead of my father David. But I am a little child. I do not know how to go out or to come in. And your servant is in the midst of your people, whom you have chosen, a great people, too numerous to be numbered or counted. Shall you then give to your servant an understanding heart to rule your people, to discern between good and evil? For who is able to rule this people of yours? And the word was good in the eyes of Yahuwah that Shlomo had asked this. So Elohim said to him, because you have asked this, and have not asked for long life for yourself, nor have asked riches for yourself, nor have asked the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself discernment to understand right ruling. See, I shall do according to your words. See, I shall give you a wise and understanding heart, so that there was none like you before, and none like you shall rise after you. The symbol of the serpent wrapped around the tree, the symbol of pharmacy, given to Eve by smooth promises of the serpent, a promise that their eyes would be opened to know good and evil, just as Solomon requested here to know good and evil. But we know that Solomon's heart would eventually turn away from Yahuwah. Bereshith, Genesis 3:1. And the Nakash was more crafty than all the lives of the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said to the woman, is it true that Elohim had said, do not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the Nakash, we are to eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, do not eat of it, nor touch it, lest you die. And the Nakash said to the woman, you shall certainly not die, for Elohim knows that in the day that you eat of it, your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise. And she took of its fruit and ate, and she also gave it to her husband with her, and he ate. Just like the wish Solomon made to have his eyes opened, to know good and evil. And it would be Solomon who made the largest garden in Israel and wrote about it. Koheleth, Ecclesiastes 2:5. I made gardens and parks for myself, and I planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. Quote, a short walk from the Temple Mount in the East Jerusalem neighborhood of Al-Bustan, there is a plan to replace the dozens of Palestinian homes with new tourist destination, a lush garden on the site where some say King Solomon built his royal gardens and wrote the book of Ecclesiastes. Song of Songs 4:12. A garden locked up is my sister, my bride, a fountain locked, a spring sealed up. This passage shows wisdom because, as we have seen in the God of Forces video, it is the seal that is locked up on Yahuwah's people, the bride, the covering of Yahuwah that Satan wants to remove with the mark. Solomon is the 666th person mentioned in Scripture. He uses the phrase, here is wisdom, here is understanding. He asked for wisdom to discern good from evil, and he built the king's garden. But he eventually leads the Israelites to worship idols and build high places. But what does that have to do with the mark of the beast? Here is why. It is because of the Nachashtan, the brazen serpent that was made by Moshe and by Midbar, Numbers 21:6. And Yahuwah sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and many of the people of Israel died. Then the people came to Moshe and said, we have sinned, for we have spoken against Yahuwah and against you. Pray to Yahuwah to take away the serpents from us. So Moshe prayed on the behalf of the people, and Yahuwah said to Moshe, make a fiery serpent and set it on a pole, and it shall be that everyone who is bitten when he looks at it, shall live. So Moshe made a bronze serpent and put it on a pole. And it came to be, if a serpent had bitten anyone, when he looked at the bronze serpent, he lived. I know for a long time I had wondered why Yahuwah would have Moshe make an image for the Israelites to look upon to be healed, especially one that represents Phamekeia, a serpent wrapped around a pole. But now I believe I know why. First, let's look at what King Hezekiah did in Melachim Bet, 2 Kings 18:4. He took away the high places and broke the pillars and cut down the Ashtoreth and broke in pieces the bronze serpent which Moshe had made. For until those days the children of Israel burned incense to it and called it Nachashtan. Quote, the Nachashtan, the name of the copper serpent which King Hezekiah broke into pieces in 1 Kings 18:4, the name suggests both its serpentine shape, Nakash, as well as the material, Nohoshit, of which it was made. Since the smashing of the copper serpent parallels the shattering of the pillars and cutting down of the Ashtoreth, it was probably located in the temple court in Jerusalem. The Nachashtan in the temple is an allegory of the mark of the beast, which we have clearly shown to be Phamekeia, that is placed inside of those who take the mark. The symbol of the serpent wrapped around a tree, the same symbol that we see in the garden. And since Solomon created the largest garden in Israel, it is no wonder why the passage in Revelation points to him to give us this warning. The word Nachashtan is made up of 5 Hebrew letters. The first letter is Nun, which is a picture of a fish. It means seed, beginning, a new life, a new sprout, movement as in life. Humble, heir, son, offspring, the number 50, the age of wisdom and faithfulness. The next letter is Chet. It is a picture of a wall. It means divide, half, strong, fence, separation, outside. The next letter is Shin. It is a picture of teeth. It means destroy, fire, cut, consume, sacrifice, eat, tree of life, the path between the law and his mercy and grace, fire of the divine, and press. The next letter is Ta. It is a picture of a cross or cross sticks. It means sign, covenant, mark, signature, ID, monument, and cross. And the last letter is Nun again, which we shown earlier is a picture of a fish. It means seed, beginning, new life, a new sprout, movement as in life, humble, heir, son, offspring, the number 50, the age of wisdom and faithfulness. The word Nachashtan starts with Nun-Chet Shin. You can see this word in Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. And the Nakash was more crafty than all of the lives of the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said to the woman, is it true that Elohim has said, do not eat of every tree of the garden? The word for serpent or Nakash is Strong's H5175. It means a snake from its hiss or a serpent. The last part of Nachashtan is the letters Tav Nun. This word is Strong's H5865 tan, from an unused root probably meaning to elongate, a monster, a sea serpent, also a jackal or other hideous land animal, a dragon or whale. The word jackal we know can be a wild dog, but it also can be a person who performs dishonest or base deeds as a follower or accomplice of another. In other words, the word Nachashtan is equal to the serpent's follower. Yeshayahu Isaiah 34:13. Thorns shall grow over its strongholds, nettles and thistles in its fortresses. It shall be a haunt of jackals and an abode for ostriches. Jackals occupy desolate places in Scripture. Just like the abomination makes the person who takes it desolate. Bereshith, Genesis 3:2. And the woman said to the Nachash, we are to eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, do not eat of it, nor touch it, lest you die. The word for in the midst of the garden is Strong's H8432 Tavek, from an unused root meaning to sever. The word for garden is Hebrew Strong's H1588 Gan. It means a garden as fenced or a garden. It comes from Strong's H1598 Ganan. Ganan means to hedge about, i.e., to protect or defend, like the covering that it removes. This means that you shall not sever the protection of Elohim. For the day that you do, you shall surely die. Those who accept the mark will not enter into the millennial reign, the 1,000 years that represents the one day. MATTITHYAHU, Matthew 12:42. The sovereignness of the south shall rise up in the judgment with this generation and shall condemn it. For she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Shelomo, and look, a greater than Shelomo is here. Now when the unclean spirit goes out of a man, he goes through dry places, seeking rest, and finds none. Then it says, I shall return to my house from which I came, and when it comes, it finds it empty, swept, and decorated. Then it goes and takes with it 7 other spirits more wicked than itself, and they shall enter and dwell there, and the last of that man is worse than the first. So shall it also be with this wicked generation. Empty of the Kodesh spirit, swept clean of Yahuwah's protective covering, and decorated with the seed of the serpent. Kasson, Revelation 22:14. Blessed are those doing his commands, so that the authority shall be theirs unto the tree of life, and to enter through the gates into the city. But outside are the dogs, and those who enchant with drugs, and those who whore, the murderers and the idolaters, and all those who love and do falsehood. The dogs outside, the Nachashtan, serpents, followers, are the serpents, jackals, who are enchanted with drugs. Bereshith, Genesis 3:4. And the Nachash said to the woman, you shall certainly not die, for Elohim knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. This is an image of the visual pathways. The image that your eyes see is created in the back of your brain. This is the sigil of Nachashtan. Quote, a sigil is a type of symbol used in magic. The term has usually referred to a pictorial signature of a deity or spirit. In modern uses, especially in the context of chaos magic, sigil refers to the symbolic representation of the practitioner's desired outcome. What is the serpent's desired outcome? This is the sigil of Satan in the visual pathways. And your eyes will be open. The Nachashtan by the Odio means the seed of division destroys the covenant seed. This is the beginning of the mark of the beast. Yehezkel, Ezekiel 28:13. You were in Eden, the garden of Elohim. Every precious stone was your covering. The ruby, topaz and diamond, beryl, shoham and jasper, sapphire, turquoise and emerald and gold. The workmanship of your settings and mountings was prepared for you on the day you were created. You were the anointed cherub that covered, and I placed you, and you were on the set-apart mountain of Elohim. You walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. You were perfect in all your ways from the day you were created until unrighteousness was found in you. By the greatness of your trade, you become filled with violence within, and you sinned. So I thrust you from the mountain of Elohim and destroyed you, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. The covering angel that fell, Azazel, has launched this plan to remove the covering of man, the protection of Yahuwah the Father, from those who accept the mark. Bereshith, Genesis 3:15. And I put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall crush his heel. The head of the body comes first. Thus Satan launched his plan in the garden in the beginning. Notice in the Nachashtan there are two seeds. But the heel is at the end of the body. Thus, in the end, the bride will crush his heel. Yochanan John 3:14. And as Moshe lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so the son of Adam has to be lifted up, so that whoever is believing in him should not perish, but possess everlasting life. For Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only brought forth Son, so that everyone who believes in him should not perish, but possess everlasting life. So what reverses the plan of Satan, the plan of the Nachashtan? The Nachashtan, spelled backwards, is Nathashin. The first word, Nathash, is Hebrew Strong's 5428. It means to pull up or to pluck up, to tear away, to destroy, forsake, to pull up by the roots, to pluck up or to overthrow, as overthrowing a kingdom. The last two letters, Chet Nun, spells the Hebrew word chin. This is Strong's 2580. It means favor or grace. Nachashtan therefore means to overthrow by favor. The seed of the covenant destroys the division seed. This beautiful plan for salvation was set forth by Elohim in the beginning. Ephesians 2:8. For by favor you have been saved through belief, and not of yourselves. It is the gift of Elohim. It is not by works, so that no one should boast. But now in Messiah Yahusha, you who once were far off, having been brought near by the blood of the Messiah, for he is our peace, who has made both one, and having broken down the partition of the barrier, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, the Torah of the commands and dogma, so as to create in himself one renewed man from the two, thus making peace, and to completely restore to favor both of them unto Elohim in one body through the stake, having destroyed the enmity by it. And just as the serpent hanging from a tree has brought about the curse to destroy all mankind, it is our Savior Yahusha that will bring the curse to an end. Galatians 3:13. Messiah redeemed us from the curse of the Torah, having become a curse for us. For it has been written, cursed is everyone who hangs upon a tree. Book of Yashar 9:29. And Yahuwah knew their thoughts. And it came to be, when they were building, they shot arrows towards the Shamayim. And all the arrows fell upon them, filled with blood. And when they saw them, they said to each other, indeed, we have slain all those that are in the Shamayim. This happened during the building of the Tower of Babel, the first world order, And just as in those days, the global leaders of the world are again firing their arrows at the Shemayim, the set-apart place of the Most High. And as the days of Noah, so also shall the coming of the Son of Adam be. And just like in the days of Noah, Yahweh will bring the Tower of Babel to the ground. Eve took of the fruit of the garden and ate, and gave to her husband, and he ate. This is allegorical, because Eve represents all of the living that are separated from Yahuwah after eating of this fruit. Bereshith, Genesis 3:20. And the man called his wife's name Kahua, because she became the mother of all living. The name Kahua is made up of 3 letters, Chet, Ua, and He. Chet is a picture of a wall. It means divide, half, strong fence, separation, outside. Ua is a picture of a tent post, a nail. It means add, hook, to connect, secure, Messiah connecting us to Yahuwah, a bridge, and man. The letter He is the next letter. It is a picture of a man with raised hands. It means look, behold, breath, Kodesh spirit, window, reveal, and enlighten. The name Kahua means separate man and spirit. Notice how this name is pronounced. You can see this pronunciation in the blue letter Bible shown here. Even though they say the pronunciation is Kaval, look at the transliteration to English in the left-hand corner. This transliteration is how to say this name in our language, which is Kahua. This name is a part of our Creator's name, which is Yahuwah, shown here. Kahua is separate man in spirit, or man's spirit separated, and he is separated from Yahuwah. The name Yahuwah is Yah, our Father, and man's spirit united in one. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah our Elohim, Yahuwah Akkad. His name means love. And you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. We love him because he first loved us. Yahuwah's beautiful name is the bond and perfection of love. And just as in the beginning, the serpent wants to separate man from this love and make all Kahua. The name that means man's spirit separated from Yahuwah. Yahusha came to bring salvation to all that are separated from Yahuwah. And through his work on the stake, all that believe in him can now become the bride. So all of mankind represent Eve, the bride. And that is why he is called the Ben, or son of Adam. Because Adam is an allegory for the husband, and the husband represents Yahuwah. Yeshayahu, Isaiah 54:5. For your maker is your husband, Yahuwah of hosts is his name. And the set apart one of Yisrael is your redeemer. He is called the Elohim of all the earth. The mark represents the arrows fired at the Shemayim, because man represents the bride, Eve, who ate of the fruit and gave to her husband. This evil plan put forth by the evil one is to make all man Kahua, separated from the husband. The arrows fired at the husband who dwells in you. If the arrow is placed in you and you have no relationship with him, you will not feel a thing and go on about your business as if it never happened to you. or at least until the turn comes. But if you have the indwelling Ruach HaKodesh, this separation can be equated to being beheaded, just as Daniel mentioned in 11:31 when he said, "They shall remove." The word for remove is Strong's H5493, sur. This word means to remove, but it also can mean behead. And just like they beheaded Yochanan the Immerser, who came in the spirit of Eliyahu, MATTITHYAHU, Matthew 14:10, and sent and beheaded Yochanan in prison, and his head was brought on a dish and given to the girl, and she brought it to her mother. This act of bringing the head of the Spirit on a platter is allegorical of the beheading of the followers of Yahuwah who are indwelled with the Ruach HaKodesh. Will this beheading be from an actual guillotine or by the flaming arrow put in the flesh? Either way, we need to put on the full armor of Elohim for you to have power to stand against the schemes of the devil, because we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against authorities, against exocia cosmocrator, a word that means the powers of the devil and his demons, the world rulers of darkness of this age, against spiritual matters of wickedness in the heavenlies. Because of this, take up the complete armor of Elohim, so that you have power to withstand in the wicked day, and having done all to stand. Stand then, having girded your waist with truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having fitted your feet with the preparation of the good news of peace. Above all, having taken up the shield of belief, with which you shall have power to quench all the burning arrows of the wicked ones. The burning arrows of the covenant identification of the beast, aimed at the connection of man and the Most High. And just as when Yahusha took on all the sins of mankind on the cursed tree and was risen up by Yahuwah, he will raise up all those who look upon him for salvation. And in the brightness and glory of his coming, every knee will bow and say, Baruch haba Bashem Yahuwah. Shalom.